Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blackfoot Book Club and another volume of my essential film reviews collection. Thanks very much for returning. Thanks for being there. Okay Jim, I've got some bad news. With no opening titles, the film immediately begins with a portent of things to come, both in terms of the film and in Danny Boyle's directorial expertise, with frenetically edited footage of riots and destruction around the world, and of chaos and mass societal breakdown. There are numerous television screens all showing the same footage, and as the camera pulls back we see a chimpanzee connected to these multiple screens via electrodes attached to his head. 3 animal rights activists break into the secure facility housing this chimpanzee and a number of others, but are warned not to free them. They are infected with the rage virus, and when subsequently freed, they wreak a bloody and rage-fueled revenge. We cut to a simple slide which notes, 28 days later. There is a close-up shot of an eyeball and the faint sound of a person breathing, before we cut to an overhead shot of a naked man in a hospital bed attached to various tubes. We now cut to another close-up, this time on the man's face as he slowly awakens and begins disconnecting the tubes. He now peers through the blinds of the window into the dishevelled and untidy corridor outside of his door, which he opens with a key he finds on the floor. He shouts a faint "hello" before we cut to the same man, now dressed in a green hospital gown, as he stumbles around the eerily silent and empty hospital building. He repeats a faint "hello" before trying the telephones, but they clearly aren't working, and he now shouts a more distressed and anguished "hello". After leaving the hospital building, we cut to 2 shots of the distressed man, one from below and a second from above, with the stationary white ambulances starkly juxtaposed against a matchstick figure in green. We cut to a beautiful sunrise over the London skyline, but it's eerily silent as we cut between a shot of the London Eye and the man now walking over Westminster Bridge. He stumbles across the bridge, which is littered with discarded pieces of London memorabilia, as the camera pans up to his bemused and distressed face and the noticeably horrific scar on the back of his skull. "Hello!" he cries out again. After he crosses the bridge, we cut to another shot of a broken shop window and a bus turned onto its side. He lets out a more anguished and louder "hello!" but all around him remains eerily quiet. Further edited shots of the man follow him on his walk through the deserted streets, from the Houses of Parliament to the London Eye, with one shot in particular standing out, and from on high and again framing a matchstick figure all alone. The haunting musical soundtrack, "Godspeed You Black Emperor" by East Hastings, is the only sound to be heard, and it continues to build to a crescendo as the man collects numerous discarded £20 notes from the street. With the music continuing, we cut to a long shot of the man juxtaposed against a beautiful early morning sunrise and St Paul's Cathedral, before cutting to a brilliant signature shot of the entire sequence as the distressed man continues his lonely walk against the background of a large billboard and a smiling lady behind him. After setting off a car alarm, the man picks up a newspaper and the headline reads "Evacuation." The wonderful yet haunting music continues to build as we follow the man into a deserted Piccadilly circus, and the reality hits him as the statue of Eros is cordoned off and the barriers swamped with notices pleading for information on lost family members. Unable to comprehend the enormity of the situation, and as the music comes to an end, he begins to walk away. We cut to the man entering a church. The man in question is Jim, and he's brought to life admirably by a wonderful Cillian Murphy, who continued with the Danny Boyle trend of a headlining actor who would go on to become a fully fledged Hollywood star. Roles in all three Christopher Nolan-inspired Batman films followed, as did a brilliant performance in Nolan's seminal film Inception. And between these hugely successful franchise films, Murphy also reunited with Boyle on 2007's Sunshine, and was truly outstanding in the underrated 2011 low-budget thriller Retreat. But here as Jim, Murphy excels as he tries to make sense of the emptiness around him, of the devastation and heartbreak, and of course, the virus-ridden zombies that love to attack at night. Fearing he was all alone, Jim is rescued by Selena, an excellent Naomi Harris, and Mark, Noah Huntley, who in the film's only real exposition-heavy scene describes to Jim the utter devastation the outbreak of the virus has wreaked on civilization and the dire consequences should they come into contact with any of the Walking Dead and virus-infected zombies. This brief scene in particular continues a key theme that permeates the film, as Boyle blends the horror narrative of virus-infected zombies with excellent directorial touches of light and shade, shadows and particularly reflections, as well as darkly comedic humour. The scene is bathed in shadows and reflections, a constant theme of the film, but the humour is raised by the inclusion of the classic giraffe-lion joke, which pleased this 42-year-old teenager immensely. Although ostensibly a zombie horror film, it is also somewhat of a buddy road trip film, as our survivors seek refuge, a way out, and survival from the horrors that surround them. It is in this respect that our main supporting roles are cast, with Frank, Brendan Gleeson, and Hannah, Megan Burns, as survivors and a father-daughter family unit. Gleeson is superb as always, but it's Megan Burns as the belligerent, cheeky, yet determined to survive Hannah who excels. With refuge seemingly found in a northern outpost patrolled by a motley crew of sweary and on-edge soldiers, by far and away the standout supporting role is portrayed by returning Christopher Eccleston as Major Henry West. Calm and self-effacing on the surface, but mentally unhinged and subtly terrifying, Eccleston is superb and almost steals the film from Murphy's performance as Jim. This post-apocalyptic zombie horror from Danny Boyle spawned numerous imitators after its release in 2002, including a loose follow-up 28 weeks later, and even illusionist Derren Brown's 2012 TV show Apocalypse. This certainly wasn't the first film to explore themes of virus-carrying zombies either, but what sets this apart from its predecessors, or indeed its imitators, is the love story at the core of the film, of two disparate individuals thrown together in the midst of a horrifying situation, and despite their selfish individual intentions for survival, they seek solace in one another, and a strong faith that humankind can prevail. The director, along with his two leading actors in Cillian Murphy and Naomi Harris, deserve great credit for keeping this narrative strand at the heart of the story, despite the chaos surrounding them. As alluded to previously, the film is bathed in shadows and reflections, and these are both highly effective and a source of the film's building tension and suspense, as is John Murphy's haunting soundtrack. The choice of East Hastings' song during Jim's lonely walk through the streets of London is an inspired inclusion, as is the inclusion of Abide With Me, which is deeply personal for me and deeply affecting on the screen. Director of photography Anthony Dodd Mantle also deserves immense credit for capturing the early morning sunrise shots and the vast amount of overhead and slow panning shots in the film's opening segments, as well as the overhead shots of the single car travelling on a deserted motorway and our survivors walking along a similarly deserted train track. With the aforementioned shadows and reflections, there is much to admire in and around the main narrative story. If there's one small bone to pick, it would be the inclusion of the shopping scene midway through the film. It's good, but it's not needed, and only a minor flaw in an otherwise gripping and shocking zombie film with a love story twist. And that was 28 Days Later, directed by Danny Boyle. And I'll leave you in peace, and without zombies, and in solidarity. And I thank you so much for watching. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you so much for being there. I'll see you again soon, without zombies. Peace.